Welcome to our deep dive. You're ready to explore the millionaire next door with us.
Absolutely. I'm excited to dig into this one.
This book, it really flips the script on what we think we know about millionaires. It's not all about yachts and mansions.
It's so true. The research in this book is fascinating. It really debunks those flashy stereotypes we see in the media.
Yeah, it paints a picture of millionaires as these everyday people who are incredibly disciplined with their money.
Right. They live well below their means. You wouldn't even know they were millionaires if you met them on the street.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. One of the most surprising things the book highlights is that the average millionaire lives in a pretty modest home.
Yeah. The book says the average house is worth around $320,000. That's less than 10% of their net worth.
Wow. That's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
think about all those reality shows we see with these massive estates and luxury cars.
Right. It's a completely different reality for most millionaires. They're not out there trying to impress anyone with fancy stuff.
So if it's not about lavish spending, then how do these millionaires build their wealth?
Well, one of the key concepts in the book is this idea of the wealth equation. It's a simple formula that helps you understand how you're doing compared to others in your age and income bracket.
That sounds interesting. So what exactly is this equation? How does it work?
It's pretty straightforward. It's basically your age multiplied by your annual pre-tax income, and then you divide that number by 10.
Okay, so that gives you your expected net worth, right?
Exactly. And based on that number, the book categorizes people as either PAWs or UAWs.
PAWs and UAWs, what are those?
PAW stands for Prodigious Accumulator of Wealth, and UAW stands for Underaccumulator of Wealth. It basically tells you whether you're building wealth at a rate that's above or below average for someone in your position.
So it's not just about how much you earn, it's about how effectively you're managing your money.
Right. And the book really emphasizes that point. It's not about trying to keep up with the Joneses. It's about making smart choices and investing for the long term.
Which makes perfect sense. So, okay, let's say someone figures out their wealth equation and realizes they're a UAW. What are some of the key strategies that PAWs use that they can learn from?
Well, one of the biggest things is budgeting. These millionaires are masters of defense. They track their expenses carefully and stick to a plan.
So it's not about deprivation, it's about being intentional with your spending.
Exactly. They often create what the book calls an artificial scarcity. They invest a portion of their income first and then live off the rest.
That's an interesting concept. So they're basically prioritizing saving and investing over spending.
Exactly. They understand the power of compound interest, and they're willing to delay gratification to reach their financial goals.
So it's about playing the long game, not looking for quick wins.
Absolutely. And this long-term thinking also extends to how they approach taxes.
Taxes, now, that's a topic everyone loves to talk about.
Right, but it's an important one. The book points out that millionaires often pay a smaller percentage of their wealth in taxes compared to the average person.
Wait, really? How is that possible?
Well, as their wealth grows, they become less reliant on their annual income, so a smaller portion of their overall wealth is subject to income tax each year.
Ah, I see. So it's like a reward for long-term thinking and smart financial planning.
Exactly. It's about using the system to your advantage in a legal and ethical way.
Okay, so we've talked about budgeting and taxes, but what about the millionaire mindset itself? What are some of the values and behaviors that set them apart?
Well, one of the things that really stood out to me was their emphasis on financial independence over social status.
So they're not trying to impress anyone with their possessions.
Right. The book tells a story about a millionaire named Mr. Allen, who was actually gifted a Rolls Royce, but he refused to accept it.
Wow. Why would he do that?
Because it didn't align with his values. He didn't want to project an image of wealth that wasn't authentic to who he was.
That's amazing. It
Yeah.
really challenges our perceptions of what it means to be wealthy.
It does.
Mm.
And that's one of the things I love about this book. It really makes you question the things we often associate with success.
And it shows that true wealth is about so much more than just money.
Exactly. It's about freedom. It's about security. It's about having the ability to live life on your own terms.
And that's something we can all aspire to no matter our income level.
Absolutely. And The Millionaire Next Door gives us a roadmap for how to get there.
Okay, so we've talked about the millionaire mindset, their approach to budgeting and taxes. But what about the idea that most millionaires inherit their wealth? Does this book debunk that myth too?
It definitely does. The book actually highlights that the vast majority of millionaires are first-generation affluent. They built their wealth themselves through hard work and smart decisions.
That's incredibly inspiring. It means that anyone, regardless of their background, can achieve financial success.
Exactly. And that's one of the most powerful messages of this book. It's a message of hope and empowerment.
It's about taking control of your financial destiny and creating a life of abundance.
And it all starts with understanding the principles and strategies that these everyday millionaires have used to achieve their success.
So let's delve a bit deeper into some of those strategies because I'm sure our listeners are eager to learn more.
I'm happy to share what I've learned. Let's start by talking about their approach to investing because it's quite different from what you might expect. Okay, so let's talk about investing because it's something people think millionaires are, glued to their screens watching every little market fluctuation.
Right, always trying to outsmart the system.
Yeah, but actually, the book paints a very different picture. These millionaires are actually incredibly patient and disciplined investors.
Really? So they're not day trading or constantly chasing the latest hot stock tip.
Not at all. They tend to focus on long-term growth, and they're not afraid to hold on to investments for years, even decades.
So it's more about a slow and steady approach.
Exactly. And instead of trying to time the market, they often dollar cost average, meaning they invest a set amount of money at regular intervals regardless of market conditions.
That's interesting. So they're basically taking the emotion out of investing.
Right. It's a very disciplined approach. And they also tend to do a lot of research before making any investment decisions.
So they're not just throwing money at random stocks.
No, they're very selective about where they put their money, and they often focus on a smaller number of investments that they understand deeply.
So instead of trying to be a jack of all trades, they become masters of a few.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes the importance of finding investments that align with your values and your long-term goals.
And speaking of finding investments, I'm curious about how they actually go about it. Do they rely solely on their own research, or do they seek help from others?
Well, many of them do rely on trusted advisors, like financial planners or CPAs.
So they're not afraid to ask for help.
Not at all. They understand that leveraging the knowledge of experts can be incredibly beneficial.
It's like having a coach in your corner guiding you along the way.
Exactly. And the book even highlights that some millionaires prefer to invest in things they can control, like real estate or their own businesses.
Which makes sense. It gives them a sense of ownership, and they can actively participate in the growth of their investments.
Right. And they're often willing to put in the time and effort to really understand those investments inside and out.
So it's not just about throwing money at something and hoping for the best.
No. It's about being an active and engaged investor, taking calculated risks, and being prepared to learn and adapt along the way.
So I think we've gotten a pretty good understanding of their investment strategies. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about a topic that's probably on the minds of many of our listeners raising kids.
Yes, because everyone wonders, how do millionaires raise their kids? I mean, do they spoil them or do they instill a strong work ethic?
Right, because it's easy to assume that kids who grow up in wealthy families might have a sense of entitlement.
Yeah, and the book actually addresses this directly. It talks about the dangers of what it calls economic outpatient care.
Economic outpatient care? What's
Yeah.
that?
It's basically the idea that giving adult children too much financial support can actually hinder their development and prevent them from becoming truly independent.
So it's like they're always relying on a financial safety net.
Right. And it can create a sense of dependency that can be really hard to break free from.
That makes sense. So instead of just handing over money, what do these millionaires focus on when it comes to raising their kids?
They emphasize the importance of hard work, personal responsibility, and financial literacy.
So they're teaching them the same values that help them build their wealth.
Exactly. It's about equipping their children with the tools and the mindset to create their own success.
It's like they're giving them a fishing rod instead of just handing them a fish.
That's a great analogy. And they also encourage their children to pursue their passions and find careers that they're truly excited about.
So it's not just about making money, it's about finding fulfillment and purpose in their work.
Absolutely. And they often involve their children in financial discussions and decisions from a young age.
So they're giving them a real-world education in finance.
Right. They're teaching them about budgeting, investing, and the importance of making smart choices with money.
It's like they're setting them up for success from the very beginning.
Exactly. And that's something I think we can all learn from, regardless of our financial situation.
It's never too early to start teaching kids about money and the importance of financial responsibility.
Absolutely. And by instilling those values early on, we can empower our children to become financially independent and create a brighter future for themselves.
We've been talking a lot about the practical side of things, budgeting, investing, all those strategies.
Yeah.
But the Millionaire Next Door also goes beyond just the numbers, right?
Oh, absolutely. It dives into the emotional and psychological aspects of wealth, too.
So it's not always just about knowing what to do. It's about actually doing it.
Right. Exactly. It's about overcoming those internal barriers that can hold us back from achieving our financial goals.
Okay, so let's talk about those barriers.
Yeah.
What are some of the common ones that people face?
Well, one that comes up a lot in the book is this fear of failure. That feeling of, what if I make the wrong decision and lose everything?
Oh, yeah, I think we've all felt that at some point, especially when it comes to money.
Right. And that fear can be paralyzing. It can prevent us from taking risks or even just getting started.
So how do these millionaires overcome that fear?
Well, they tend to have a very different perspective on failure. They see it as a learning opportunity, a chance to grow and improve.
Hmm. So they don't let it define them or hold them back.
Exactly. They're willing to embrace the ups and downs of the journey, knowing that setbacks are inevitable.
And that's a really valuable lesson, I think, especially in today's world where we're constantly bombarded with images of perfection and overnight success.
Absolutely. The book reminds us that building wealth is a process. It takes time and effort, and there will be bumps along the way.
And speaking of bumps in the road, the book also talks about the importance of having a strong support system.
Right, it does. It emphasizes the importance of surrounding yourself with people who believe in you and your goals.
So it's about finding those cheerleaders who will lift you up and keep you motivated.
Exactly. And it's also about being mindful of the people who might be holding you back. Those who might discourage you or pressure you to spend money you don't have.
Yeah, it's about creating a positive and supportive environment for yourself, both personally and financially.
Exactly. And when you have that kind of environment, it makes it so much easier to stay focused and achieve your goals.
So I think we've really uncovered some valuable insights today about the mindsets and the habits of everyday millionaires. And while the book focuses specifically on millionaires, I think a lot of these principles can be applied to anyone, regardless of their income level.
I completely agree. It's all about making conscious choices, developing healthy habits, and staying committed to your financial well-being.
It's about taking control of your money and creating a life of abundance.
And it's about remembering that wealth is so much more than just a number in your bank account.
It's about freedom, it's about security, and it's about having the ability to live a life that aligns with your values.
So, if you're ready to start your own journey towards financial success, I highly recommend checking out The Millionaire Next Door. It's a book that can truly change your life.
And even if you've already read it, it's always worth revisiting and reminding yourself of the powerful lessons it contains.
Absolutely. It's a book that can inspire you to dream bigger, think differently, and take action towards creating a brighter financial future.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into The Millionaire Next Door.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
And to our listeners, we hope you've gained some valuable insights that you can apply to your own lives.
Remember, the path to financial success is a journey, not a destination.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to create a life of abundance and fulfillment.